Hello and welcome to the Cold Coffee Club, a podcast brought to you by Houston Moms. We're here to give you a little bit of that mom-to-mom connection, fun, and conversation amidst all the chaos. Join us as we take a break from doing all the things and explore the wide spectrum of this crazy motherhood role. We'll interview fun guests, talk about cool grown-up topics, laugh, share, and grow together. So go ahead, reheat that coffee, and put your feet up. Here we go.
Hello, Cold Coffee Club. I am here for another episode, and I get to be joined with Tiffany Harris. She is my co-host for the week, and I'm so excited to jump into bedtime routines. We are going to share some of the do's and don'ts that we have for bedtime, and what things we swear by. I have a few things where I'm like, if we don't do this, we don't make it through a safe and smooth bedtime. Someone's yelling, someone's crying. Yeah, it's a whole problem. So before we get into that, let's spill a little tea. So Tiffany, do you have a win and a fail for this week?
So I definitely have a win. Mm-hmm. I am now listening to podcasts in part because I'm doing them.
Yay!
Thank you. And I also found it was another cool way of just doing something different other than just listening to music all the time. But I was talking to a mom friend of mine, and she was like, hey, and I couldn't find any for the kids. So she was telling me a few that her daughter listens to. So my win is a couple of podcasts. One is Brains On, and then they have a couple of like associated versions of them, Moments of and then Smash Boom Best. It's hosted by someone, her name is Molly. I can't remember her last name, but my kids absolutely love these. They're very interesting. The Brains On one actually is my favorite. Do you know what? Have you heard of it?
I mentioned it in one of our episodes. It might have been last week or the week before, but keep going because my kids are loving it too. And I did not know there were other connected podcasts to that. Awesome.
Yes. And the funny thing is, I told my husband, because he's like, what is it that you keep? Because my daughter will bring it up or my son will bring it up. And I'm like, well, so the problem kind of is, admittedly, I don't like them to listen to it at home because did I miss it? I missed it. So I love them awesome. Because it's audio, so they're listening and they're learning in a different way. It's very good information, and it's very kind of light, but it is very informative. Yes. Things like why is boredom good? What is a cavity? What are UFOs? Those kinds of things. The Smash Boom Best is like, they're learning how to present an argument and how to speak up for like which one is the one we're listening to right now is waffles or pancakes, and so two people like kind of give their perspective of why which one is the best. Another one was Batman versus Spider-Man, and it was they're super cute, they're light, they're reasonably informative, even the Smash Boom Best. And, again, my daughter would like to listen to them in the evening. And I'm like, and depending on which one it is, I'm like, ooh, you just need to go to sleep.
Don't listen to this. I want to listen. Yeah. That's awesome. Yes. So. Yeah. You had mentioned it to me and we started listening to it. And then the last one we listened to was Why Do We Laugh? And we were listening to it in the car and I would like pause it and ask questions and we would start talking about things or like, what do you think? What kind of laugh do you think that is? My kids were so into it.
Yes. Yes. My daughter gets very into it. Like she gets like me when she's trying to concentrate. Don't talk to her. Make sure it's at the right level so that she can hear it. She doesn't even if it's really noisy while we're driving outside, she gets very frustrated because she can't hear. And she just wants to like totally zone into it. So yeah, she loves it.
Yes.
She loves it.
Great recommendation. I will make sure to put links in our show notes for each of those podcasts.
And then the moments of just for the audience is that they're really short. So, the Brains On is 30 minutes or so. Yeah. So is Smash Boom Best. a moments of is like 4 or 5 minutes, and that's why my kids really don't particularly like it.
Mm.
So again, they're like their mother. They're like, it's so short, but it's still good information. It's still good
Yeah.
information.
Awesome. So my fail this week is that allergies are just crushing all of us. Oh my poor children. My youngest is just like, "Mom, my nose is so annoying right now." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know, man." And so that is kind of our fail, but our win is that we are getting a ton of use out of our neti pots. So we've been just like flushing out our sinuses. And then not very many people know about ear candles. I've mentioned them to other people and they're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And my ears get kind of like clogged up during allergy season. And so these candles just kind of pull everything out of your ears and help you hear better. And like my ears get like itchy because my throat is itchy and it really helps alleviate all of that. So we have just been like ear candling it up and neti potting. We are those weird people just constantly like, can you get me another candle? I'm like, wait, we can't do this every single day. But we're trying so hard to like get off like using Benadryl and all that. Like I would prefer to not have to take medicine every single day. So I'm like, okay, what processes can we do to help this? And so neti pots and ear candles, we are just using them up. So these are our saving grace right now.
Yeah, if I had to have a fail, it would be that. It would be my son is home as we speak, missing the first day of testing.
Aww.
Because I was trying to push him. My husband's like, no, he sounds worse today.
Yeah.
I was like, does he? Yeah, he does.
Yeah, it's rough. These poor kids. Every year they're just like shocked, like I'm falling apart. What is this? And I'm like, yeah, we dealt with this last year.
That's my son. He feels like he's literally. I will look at him and he, you can tell if he was like an old man, he'd be like, I'm just so old. My whole body's falling apart. I'm just like, it is just your allergies. And he's like, no, it's not my allergies. It's not my allergies.
They're so dramatic. I love
it. There's no way this is allergies. There's no way. Like, babe, I promise.
Oh my gosh, so dramatic.
That's how deep his voice sounds when he gets really sick too. It's not allergies, Mom. It's not allergies.
Oh my gosh, poor baby.
And that's me. I'm like, my baby, don't worry about it.
Oh my gosh. All right, let's jump into our cream and sugar recommendations. Is there anything you're loving right now?
Yeah, I will tell you. So, I don't know if I've ever mentioned it on the podcast, I love the Urban Harvest Farmers Market. Mm-hmm. So one of the one on Buffalo Speedway on Saturday mornings, and one of the vendors there is Bee2Bee Honey, and we get all of our honey from there. And like we buy an insane amount of honey from them, in part because of the allergies. And earlier on, when the kids were younger, we really couldn't give them anything else in terms of medicine wise. So we were just, everybody was like, just give them honey. They also then transitioned to liking oatmeal. And so it's a lot of honey. Yeah. Anyway, my son has become like an aficionado, an expert in his words of bees. And so he was like, I want to do a beehive tour. And he was all about what a bee is, what bees are and the queen bee and everything like that. So Bee2Bee Honey, we did this yesterday. Moms of boys, moms of girls who like cool things. We did a beehive tour.
That is awesome.
And yeah, it is. But it's like, if you don't like bugs, if you don't like things swarming around you.
Yeah.
You have a full net on. It's very, like, I feel like it was like 99.9% safe, right? Because obviously they could get under something. I don't even know if they would sting you at that point. But my son was all up in it. He was like right there at the crate where she had the bees at. And I was like, and his courage and like, to me, it was courageous and brave because he was like standing, looking at it. Yeah. And I was like, they could just fly up in your face. Right. Like, I mean, they're busy, obviously. So they are working bees. So they're not really trying to be stinging people in their face. But I mean, still, it was quite the experience. And I had to, they're like, don't swat at him. So I had to really like intentionally keep my arms down, but he loved it. He loved it. It was $30. It was an hour. I don't know how often she does them, but she does start them in March. So this is April now. And so she did one this past week. So you just go to her site, Bee2Bee Honey. She has great honey, by the way. She collects it from all over the city.
Yeah.
In the hive that we were at, she says it's one of her favorite hives. And the bees were, I mean, they were nice. They were, and it was so funny because I kind of thought about it like my how I look at life. Like I didn't like all the swirl of the bees. Like that was very disarming to me. But the one bee that landed on my hand, I was like, oh, I can deal with you.
Yeah. You came up here, you're being calm. I like this. Yes. Yes.
I'm like a one-on-one person, like, oh, I can talk to you, little bee. But you and your friends over there, like swarming around. No, I don't want to be
doing too
around
much.
all that.
That's so
but it is
fun.
Hot, but so bring water. You know, that was we had water in the car, but I didn't make sure my son hydrated before, so he did get a little hot at the end. But by then it was over, so he really enjoyed it. He got tons of really great pictures, and it really helped to build his confidence. That was the other thing. It was like it really built his confidence. He was like, "Oh, this is exactly what I thought it would be," you know.
Yeah.
And to see it like very in person as opposed to just pictures and things like that, he loved it. So it was great, a great time. Like I was really happy to do that for him, with him, for us to do it together. So that was my win, my recommendation even for something parents can do in the city with their kids.
Yeah, that sounds like so much fun. That sounds really like a unique experience. So that's kind of the stuff I'm always looking for. So adding that to the list. My cream and sugar this week is, we talk about the Miller Outdoor Theater so much, but there's like, you can't help but talk about it. There are so many amazing performances that you've got to go see, and it's free. And now that it's starting to warm up and the weather is just lovely. Oh my gosh, this past weekend was insane how insanely incredible, gorgeous our weather's been. But the Miller Outdoor Theater schedule is really full of all kinds of different performances. I'm mostly looking forward to, there's an event called Dancing in the Street, Motown and More Review. And so I'm planning to take my family to that. And it's just a whole performance of Motown music. And I'm just so pumped. I can't wait. And I didn't realize how many plays or just things along those lines. Like I didn't realize how diverse they are. Like you'll have like Madam Butterfly, but then there's also a Jack and the Beanstalk hip hop performance coming up. And that sounds like a blast. I'm like, that's different. Like Shakespeare festivals and symphonies. I'm like, my kids, I want them to be cultured. Let's go see all the things.
Yeah. Is it super buggy? Like, is it like...
Every time I've gone, it hasn't been, but I always bring like the bug spray and those repellent bracelets. So I never really notice anything, but we're already wearing it all. So, so I say go for it. Bring some spray. I think you'll be fine.
I will have to do that. We haven't done that yet, but we'll have to try that.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Hey, Houston, I want to hear from you. Would you like to be a guest on the Cold Coffee Club? Send me a message at thecoldcoffeeclubhm@gmail.com. That's thecoldcoffeeclubhm, like Houston Moms, @gmail.com. Can't wait to hear from you.
All right, well, let's jump into the topic of the hour. We are going to talk about bedtime routines. You and I both have more than one kid, so not everything works for everybody. But I know we have our ways to go about things. So tell us a little bit about your bedtime routine with your kids.
Sure. So, again, my kids are 7, now almost 8. So we're thankfully at a point in time where they're a lot more independent, even though they do need us there, still. It's really, to me, the trick is really giving them a heads up about what the expectation is. Like this week is testing week here in Houston. And so it's like, hey, this is the expectation. This is when you need to be in bed. I will tell you, and this, some parents may have a feeling about this one way or the other, is we don't necessarily do showers each and every night, just because my son's skin has a lot of like issues, and so and I didn't do it every day when they were babies because they were babies and we didn't go many places. And then someone even said she thought that it was like really bad for their skin because it would dry their skin out a lot and things like that. So we just have kept it up. But we typically do a shower. Sometimes we do a bath, and we just let the kids kind of also direct that. Let them, give themselves a bath. One of the things that is also really important that they brush their teeth and just really get comfortable. They need. Our kids are now at the point where they kind of know that they're sleepy. And one of the, and honestly, the other part of it is that I'm not as involved in it as I used to be as opposed to when they were kids.
Sure.
So my husband, he's the one who like will lay down there with them. And the thing I like is that my husband kind of uses it as his downtime. So by putting them to bed, it's his downtime. He gets to kind of like, he likes sitting in the dark. It's not my favorite thing. And they like that comfort and security. But the other thing that I like is that when I put them to bed, they don't get that with me, but they know that it's a different level of security, right? So it's a different kind of like independence building that I'm also doing for them at the same time.
Sure.
And then they get to really recognize just how sleepy they are.
Yeah.
I will say that when they were babies, and so, maybe for moms that are, younger ones, it's a challenge. It just, it really is. And baths were a really big part of it. We did the lavender. That was always a really big part of it because that was really important just to kind of help introduce that smell of like wanting to feel sleepy. We'd even do that. Like I do to this day, I definitely keep some sort of lavender oil, lavender scented bath thing around if we need it when they do baths, because I just prefer that on their skin. We weren't always religious about the exact time, but about the time. Like, so it was like in the 7:00 hour or the 8:00 hour, certain things had to happen. And so while some parents were like, hey, by 7:45, they know this, and 7:55, they know this, we were more like, by 8:15, they know something. And then they also know for us that it is bedtime. So we're not doing the like getting up 5 times to get a glass of water. We're not doing the, oh, mom, I'm still hungry kind of thing. Like we close the shop up and it is time to go to sleep. And, as time went on, it was a lot easier to reaffirm that. But they also knew even then that we weren't playing around.
Yeah. I feel like, I mean, my kids are kind of the same way. They need like that structure. They need to know like, we're not doing this. So shut it down. My kids know once you leave the table, the kitchen's closed. So like, it's done. You can't have anything else. We are big on, 1 sip of water before bed, get a big gulp. My youngest is still potty training at night, so he gets 1 sip. I'm like, buddy, don't do this to me.
Yes, exactly.
But I'm not bringing a bunch of water to your room. Grab a cup, have a drink. We're good to go. My kids are very used to, and since day one, they're very used to the bedtime routine. It has always been, like you said, we don't do baths every night. My kids have all had eczema at some point. And we would do, sometimes if we did do a bath every night, it would just be like soap on one night. The next night it's an oatmeal bath or something. Like you're not scrubbing with harsh chemicals or whatever that are going to irritate your skin. You get an oatmeal bath. You can relax in it if that's what you want to do. Cool. They're very good now at, I'm big on lists. So I have a list of like, hey, don't forget that you need to floss. And if you do forget, check the list. It is all here for you. I shouldn't have to keep reminding you. You have a list that tells you what's up. So they've gotten really good about that. My kids have always been sticklers about having some kind of music in their room throughout the night. So we do have the sleep machines in everybody's rooms. They like that soothing music, and it is always. One time the power went out and their music boxes went off, and then the power came back on, so their night lights were on and everything, but it didn't turn the music boxes back on. These people woke up out of their sleep at like 3 a.m, like, Mom, I don't have music. I'm like, oh my gosh. So part of me is like, it gets frustrating that they're so dependent on it, and it makes it hard when we like travel. Sometimes they're like, do we have music? And I'll set my phone in the room or something and play some meditation music or something, but they're very locked in on that. They're like, we need that. We love it. Just leave it on. So, there's that. My kids also love, I have like a lavender spray. I just made it and it's in a spray bottle. And at first it used to be like, just in case there's monsters, I sprayed under your bed. But now they're like, okay, well, we don't believe in any of that, but can you still spray the room? Because it smells great. Like, okay, yes, I can do that. And they
That's
love
an excellent idea.
Yes, they love their spray. They're like, I don't smell bedtime. Like, fair enough. Touche. So they do love that. They do love that.
I cannot imagine having said that to my mom. That's great.
Doesn't smell like bedtime in here. Yep. My children. And we've gotten more as they've gotten older. Their bedtimes have shifted. My kids were homeschooled for a while, so bedtime was a little bit later because we didn't have to be anywhere. And then I live a little bit further from their school than their dad does, so we have to get out of the house a little bit earlier. So they're getting up at 6:30. I'm like, well, I'm sorry, but we have to dial back bedtime just a little bit. I think they lost a half hour. So, at 7 o'clock, we're in full bedtime mode. One thing we do really enjoy that started with my oldest, we love listening to stories on YouTube and like watching it, like read along with the
nice.
Whoever's doing it, and you get to see all the pictures and stuff. Goodnight Moon was like our thing when my oldest was a baby, and we still watch it to this day, and they don't. That is a very young book, a young person book, and they're still like, can we do Goodnight Moon? I'm like, you're 11. But they love it. Like, it's so familiar and it's fun to them. And I do really like, sometimes we'll read together a book, but sometimes it's like, look, I'm cleaning the kitchen. Yes, go turn on a bedtime story. Cool. And they love, it is routine that someone is reading to them. And I love that that's still such a thing to them. I love that it's very much like, this is what I need to calm down and relax, and I like it, and they have no problem. It might seem babyish to somebody, but they have no problem being like, I like my bedtime story.
I think the idea of an adult voice sending you to sleep is very soothing.
Yes. Yep. Yes. And my kids, my youngest set the tone with this. When I was weaning him when he was a baby, he wanted to be on me all the time. He did not want to sleep anywhere other than on me. And so when I would start transitioning him into his crib, he would not go to sleep. But if I laid him down and rubbed his feet, that boy would knock out. So now at 6, he's still like sticking his toes out from under the blanket. Like, you gonna rub my feet? I'm like, I can do that. And now all of them just like that little bit of physical touch before bed. And they're like, can you just rub my feet and rub my back? And I'm like, I have no problem doing that for a couple minutes for each of them. And it makes me feel good because it's like, that's sweet that you want your mom to give you rubs and then let you go to sleep. I love that. And I'm holding on to it for dear life. I'm like, don't grow out of this just yet. And they love it. And they'll remind me like, you didn't rub my feet. I'm like, oh, yes. Okay, got it. I'm so sorry. Well, and we also like to do affirmations at the end of the day. So I send them to school with some affirmations. We say them in the car. This only happens at my house. I don't think their dad does that, but I think they look forward to like, that's a special thing we do with mom. And I love that. And then at bedtime, we say a couple things like we might acknowledge a few good things that happened in our day, some highlights. And then it's like, okay, well, let's wrap it up with affirmations about yourself. And they seem to really, this is a new development for me. I feel like they needed it. And it seems like they're really benefiting from it. And so I love that their last thoughts before bed are like, we read a story, mom rubbed my feet and told me great things or reminded myself great things about myself. And that's how they go off to sleep. And I love that. I'm like, all right, y'all do it for me now. Come rub my feet and tell me how great I am. Like, who's going to do that for me?
I know. Yeah. And you're right. I mean, I remember I was years ago, I was talking to a group of women. We had a psychologist, and he said that, his daughters were 12, 13 years old, and he still laid in the bed with, not laid in the bed with them, but still laid in their room with them when they went to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And he said he didn't feel any kind of way about it because, they're his daughters. He loves them. He loves that they still need him that way.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I don't know when I'll stop. Like when they tell me to get out, I guess.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
right now they said they need me in the room with them. And I remember my husband was kind of hooked on this kind of timeline thing with those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
And I just was like, look, this is a moment in time.
Yep.
It really is just a moment in time. And it's not going to last forever. And even if our version of forever is forever, it's still not there forever because they will be gone one day.
Yeah.
And we will look back on these moments and really cherish them.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I'm not part of the bedroom routine, but one of the things that I did start was like you said, reading to them, and I would do all the voices. And so that's how I was kind of really a bigger part of it when they were younger, because I was the one doing all the voices. And, and they just loved it. And they just, they would look at me. And I just remember thinking, like you said, it makes you feel so good because they're just so enthralled by you that you can do all these voices. So they almost kind of think that you turn into these people. Like, it was weird to me that they would, or we would sing. We made up this well, it's based off a real song, but we do like "Goodnight, Sweetheart" with my daughter because she was kind of the hardest to get to sleep when she was younger. Or she wouldn't stay asleep, or she, whatever was going on at the time. So we would do "Goodnight, Sweetheart," and we do the do 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 do, So,
oh, that's precious.
I mean, we still do it sometimes. Like, if she's being like silly, I guess we'll be like, okay, it's time to good night, sweetheart. And or we'll do it, and she'll be like, oh, do the song, mom, do the song. And I was like, one of us or both of us. And and that was the other thing. She would sometimes be like, just you, mommy, or just daddy.
Yeah. Oh, that's so fun.
I know it's a hard thing. I mean, I remember, oh man, my husband was convinced at about 2 years old. This had to be during COVID. So no, they were almost 4. And he was this time that year. So 3 years ago, he was like, they're never getting out of our bed. And I was like, they will.
Yep. And then they did.
Like by the summer, they were gone. They were both gone. And it was over. And I was like, that happened fast.
Yeah. One last thing that I love to do for our bedtimes is, since my oldest, he gets to go to bed a half hour later than the other two. That is his special privilege. And I've told all of them, once you turn 10, you can have that extra half hour. But it's really fun to have some alone time with him every night. We use that last half hour to maybe play a board game or read together or write a story together, things like that. And so I notice often that I feel like he sometimes gets the short end of the stick because he's the most self-sufficient. Go do your thing, cool. And he's, just becoming angsty teenager-y. So he's like, I don't want to talk to you. But then as soon as 7:30 hits and he knows his brothers are in bed, he's like, hey, mom, you want to come to my room and play checkers? And I'm like, yes, I do. And I love that we have that little snippet of time together, just us. So that is really a big part of our bedtime. So I love it.
Yeah, I think that's, as parents, we have to try to maximize as much of our time with them as much as possible. It sounds, it is a cliche to say it,
Right.
but you want to use opportunities to talk to them and ask them questions and, hear different things that are going on. And I think in our need to be always so rushed, which is why we weren't, kind of like to your point, like why we aren't overly dramatic about the bedroom routine, is that I felt like it just didn't give us space to have conversations and let things kind of happen organically, so that we could hear something or no, what we oftentimes hear is that somebody has a pain somewhere or there's a scratch somewhere. They'll be like, oh, my booty hurts or this hurts. And then, but they haven't really talked about it because they've been playing all day.
Yeah.
And they're not paying attention to it. But there's a thing that is bothering them that legitimately now is showing up.
Yeah.
And so it's presents as a really good time to kind of slow down, take it all in, and not feel like you're on some sort of artificial time crunch,
Right.
because
Yeah.
like they're getting enough sleep.
Yeah.
One of the things my husband used to worry about is like, are they getting enough sleep? I was like, they're getting enough sleep. Like, they're 100% getting enough sleep.
Right.
So now we just need to get them asleep, but it doesn't have to be like by 8:01 they need to be asleep.
Yeah. As you can see, bedtime kind of looks different for all of us, but it's kind of the same thing. We're all kind of doing the same things. We're trying to create that environment of calm and relaxation and really easing our children to bed. And so whatever that looks like, it's awesome for everybody. But I think overall, we're all just trying to get those kids to go to bed. Like, please go. Please just go to sleep.
Give me my time back. And that's why I got out of it. Honestly, that was kind of why I got out of it, because I was like, I'm just too in it all day. And that's why I even encouraged parents to do it. It was a therapist, one of our therapists. She was like, she told my husband to take over mealtime in the evenings and dinner and bedtime. And just those two things in and of itself for me was like life changing, because I felt so tapped out.
Yeah.
Oftentimes that I felt, anxious or really short-tempered. So it's great when I can re-engage in those times, because I'm usually have the right energy for it.
Sure.
But knowing that I don't have to do it every night anymore.
Yeah.
And my husband takes it over. That is a game changer for me.
Yes,
really
for sure. All right. Well, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing with me about bedtime routines. Hopefully this helps anybody who's struggling or running out of ideas, or how do I do this? Or I hope we offered a little bit of advice. Let's roll into our Houston Moms House Blend for this week. So the post that we're spotlighting is called Tips for Camping with Kids by Kim Reed. I know with the weather getting nicer, my kids keep asking, when can we go camping? And I'm like, we have a big backyard. Just put up the tent, we can camp outside. And they're like, no, in nature. Like, well, now you're asking for too much. I don't want to, but I'm gonna try it this year. I'm gonna try.
Oh, awesome.
We're really gonna try, and I might take this back, but now it's memorialized in a podcast. So, but I might change my mind. You never know. But I'm going to definitely, I'm going to use the tips that Kim has presented in her post. I think it, after reading it over, I'm like, okay, maybe this will help. Maybe it doesn't have to be super stressful, because camping out in nature stresses me out. So, but I think we're going to try. So thank you, Kim, for sharing this post, because it's given me a little bit of courage to try it out.
I saw that and I was like, ooh, good for her.
Yes. She's so brave. All right.
I think there's outside people. I'm not one of them.
Yeah. I mean, I am to an extent. And then I'm like, okay, now I'm done being outside. Sleeping outside is kind of where I tend to draw the line. I've done it in my early 20s, and I was like, okay, this is fun-ish. And, I tried. But yeah, I don't think I need that in my life. All right, so let's wrap up with a see you later caffeinator. I found this statistic about sleep, and with bedtime routines for our kids, we're really thinking about them and what they need at bedtime. But there's some interesting information about what we need, moms and dads. So this is according to the Sleep Foundation. I just found out that male and female circadian rhythms are slightly different. So these rhythms determine how our sleep-wake cycles are, as well as any other functions of the internal body clock. So on average, men have a longer circadian rhythm by approximately 6 minutes, meaning that they often feel less tired in the evening. Women are more likely to have shorter cycles, meaning that they are generally prone to waking up earlier. And I feel like that's kind of like some kind of evolutionary situation. Like we are up with the kids and then we are worn out at the end of the day. And it's like, I just need to go to bed. Whereas I look at like my ex-husband and it's like he could just hang out all night for a while. He's like, I'm fine. And I'm like, what?
Really?
What? And he'll be just up. But then he sleeps later into the morning than I would. And I'm like, 6 o'clock hits and my body's already like, we're behind schedule. Let's go. Like, you should have been up an hour ago. It's very interesting.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
And I've seen that over the years, like my friends saying that their husbands tend to be more night owls, which I am, but I'm tired. So I'm like up late because I need some time by myself to like not be doing things. So I'll stay up late, but then I'm also like, I'm so sleepy. Like if I closed my eyes for longer than 5 seconds, I could go to sleep. So it's just interesting. It's interesting how we're all kind of just built different. And I think it's a little bit of an evolutionary thing, but who knows? Well, thanks again, Tiffany, for joining me. It's always so much fun to get to chat with you. And I hope everyone's bedtime routines go smoothly. I know it is hit or miss sometimes, especially with those littles.
Y'all, so I know it's going to change.
It's definitely going to change. And my kids have started asking like, so are you going to make us go to bed again when it's still daytime? Like, listen. I have nothing to do with the sun. It is 8 o'clock. Go to bed.
That's right. It's still 8 o'clock.
All right, everyone. Well, thanks so much for joining the Cold Coffee Club, and we'll see you next week.
Take care.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Cold Coffee Club, brought to you by Houston Moms. We wish you a fabulous week with your families and look forward to sharing many more cups of cold coffee with you.